This is Touch 'Em All, brought to you by FanDuel and the Fantasy Sports Network. Mike Omelan, Chris Meaney hanging out with you today. Happy Friday. Of course, we're going to talk some DFS basketball. Lots to get to. A lot of games in the schedule, as always, Mike. But let's take a look at the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference standings. Just right up at the top, Atlanta, they have themselves a nice little cushion. 10-game lead on Cleveland. Tight race there with Miami, Boston, Indiana. All pretty tight. Charlotte has a chance.
What did I tell you 2 weeks ago? Celtics are going to make it.
They've won 7 of their last 10. Indiana's they've won 7 of their last 10. Milwaukee really struggling. They've only won 2 of their last 10. How about the Western Conference, though? The Golden State Warriors cruising. What a matchup it would be if it was OKC and Golden State.
Yeah.
That'd be must-watch TV, right?
For sure, 100%.
And an upset in the making.
But it would be a 4-1 series win for the Golden State Warriors.
Even with Durant there?
Even with Durant. I watched
Enes Kanter went down too?
Yeah, they're in trouble. And, you know, as great as OKC is, you know, Russell Westbrook is just one of the best players in the NBA. I watched that Golden State game on Wednesday against Atlanta, and just, you know, the Warriors, they're just a cut above everybody else. So sound defensively, too. I don't think OKC will, you know, these games, it was just like, I think, I'm trying to remember, OKC Dallas 2-3 years ago. Yeah. Dallas got swept, right?
Yeah, and every game was like a one-point game.
Was 1 point game. And that might be the same thing with this kind of series.
Yeah, from a Dallas standpoint, you got to like the fact that you're going to avoid San Antonio because they're 6-7. They keep switching spots. They got a big game against Memphis, and we'll get to the schedule tonight in just a second. But you got to try to avoid Golden State as well because they've gotten just clobbered every time they play them. But I don't mind their situation if they can get up into the 5th spot. If they could play a Houston, Portland, or a Clippers team in the first round, that's winnable. Everybody else, they probably won't beat Memphis, and they definitely wouldn't beat Golden State. But I'd like to see I want to see Anthony Davis get in the playoffs, but that just would mean that no Spurs and no OKC.
Yeah, and Spurs are locked in. I think OKC is. That's the one question mark, I guess, OKC or New Orleans, but it'll probably be OKC.
All right, so let's get to the schedule tonight. There's 12 games. You're 28-20.
Climbing up.
Separation from the losing column.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start at Philadelphia.
Let's make it double digits.
I wouldn't put too much money on this game. New York and Philly.
Ooh, boy.
At Wells Fargo. It's a good time there.
You know, Noel is going to play most likely.
Yeah, hopefully.
He's
questionable right now.
Yeah.
You got to pick.
That makes it tough.
Well, you got to make a decision.
I'll take the Knicks.
All right. Yeah, that's a tough call.
Beat the Spurs last week.
Portland, Orlando.
Portland.
They beat the Spurs and Pop called them out.
Jokes.
Denver, Miami.
Miami.
Milwaukee, Brooklyn.
Milwaukee.
Indiana, Cleveland. You know, Indiana's had their way with Cleveland. They've won 2 games against them.
Yeah, I'll go Cleveland.
Yeah, LeBron has had enough of that. And he could play Indiana at the start of the season. He doesn't want to lose them anymore.
Yeah.
Let's knock him into the playoffs. Okay, Atlanta, OKC is a decent game. Even though it's just Westbrook, right? They have nobody now.
OKC.
Oh, wow. Toronto, Chicago. In Chicago.
Yeah, that's tough.
Kyle Lowry's questionable.
Yeah, Chicago.
That's a big game, too. Memphis, Dallas, also another big game.
That's a tough sled.
Yeah.
Let's go Memphis.
Oh, that's a joke. Boston, San Antonio.
Another tough one. Oh, boy.
That's not a tough one.
San Antonio. Yeah, Boston, they're killing it.
Yeah. Charlotte, Sacramento.
Jeez. Charlotte.
That's a toss-up. There's so many mediocre teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
Just like the Eastern Conference again, just looking quickly at the 6th seed, Milwaukee, 34-34. Yeah, cool. New Orleans and Golden State.
Golden State.
And Washington, L.A., Clippers.
The Clippers.
So there you go. There's the winning picks. Don't take too much stock into it. Mike's record is 28-20. So let's look at some plays today. DFS and FanDuel, of course. Just going to go through some of the positions. We'll come back. Mike will present a lineup. I'll present a lineup as well. So let's just start at point guard. Let's just roll through it. Westbrook, $1,300 or $13,200.
He's the man.
He goes up $100. He goes down $100. He's basically stayed $13,000 for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
Going up against Atlanta. I'm not paying for him. I believe you are.
Yep.
That's all right. We'll get into that.
It was funny. I guess I'll dive into it later. There's a lot of value plays you could do. Tons of cheap plays that I loved, and I had like 5,000 left over. I'm like, I can afford Westbrook. I might as well.
Yeah, you might as well. Chris Paul's in there, Curry. So those are your top options.
Yeah, Chris Paul has been phenomenal.
He has been phenomenal. That's a top tier right there. And if you go down a little bit, Kyrie Irving, he's spendable. I mean, he's pretty cheap compared to the other guards here.
Especially if LeBron like banged up a little bit, not going to be playing 40 minutes every night. Kyrie's going to be a strong play from here on out.
Yeah, Tyreek Evans maybe not a bad option as well, too, with Anthony Davis questionable. He didn't play last night. Not sure if he's going to play tonight. Again, no Lowry, so maybe Grievous Vasquez is a guy that you plug in there. MCW hasn't been the MCW that we know from Philadelphia. I think Milwaukee's being patient with him. Jason Kidd, he's kind of battling some injuries. I think he's just trying to teach him how to. Here's the ball, kid.
A couple of injuries too. It's hard for a guy that keeps getting banged up with injuries. Yeah, hard to rely on.
Tony Parker is a nice cheap option tonight as well. Rondo is. I don't mind Rondo. He's getting better.
Those assists, 1.5 FanDuel points for assists. So those assists are key.
Yeah, he's got 11, 13, and 7. Those are his last 3 games. He's got a game in there with 9 and another game in there with 9 over his past 7 games, too. So he's getting a little bit better. Aaron Brooks, not a bad value play. And maybe let's just bring up some value plays here. Just top 5, or maybe not top 5, but just value plays in general. We're not ranking them in order. There's a couple here. If I'm going to get to them. Snell is one for sure that I do like.
Yeah, he produces lately. It's a kind of hit or miss with Tony Snell, but playing against the Raptors allowing a lot of points to guards, bottom 10 in the guard category over the last 10, so Tony Snell definitely a good play. Before we get to that, I wanted to mention, and this is why I took the Knicks over the 76ers, because Langston Galloway and Alexei Shved. Shved was funny. We talked about him about 2 weeks ago. Picked him. He was 3,500. Now he's 7,000. This guy's like a close to triple-double machine. But Galloway as well. This guy definitely worth an add in your leagues. 21 points, over 21 and 22 points in his last 2 games. They're playing hard.
Well, what do we say about the Knicks? Don't be afraid of the Knicks. You got Bargnani. Yeah. They just came off
Bargnani
5 games in a week.
He's another great play tonight.
Yeah, playing the 76ers for sure. So here's 5 value plays. They're not in order of rankings as we bring up the board. Aaron Brooks in there. We talked about him playing against the Raptors, $5,800. Tony Snell playing against the Raptors, $4,200. So there's a point guard and a shooting guard. I wouldn't suggest playing both of them in your lineup. You can go one or the other. Harrison Barnes, who you had last week,
Barnesy,
he was money in that game. He's only $4,400 tonight going up against the Pelicans. Thomas Robinson is another guy that we talk about here a lot. When he gets the minutes, he puts up some points, and he's coming off a pretty decent game. He's only $4,500 tonight going against the Knicks. And Steven Adams, we'll get into him a little bit later on, but this is a guy that is a must play.
Must add. Yeah. Especially if Cantor's injury. Sounds like he
couldn't put any weight on it, last I heard.
Yeah. Last I read, it wasn't considered totally serious, but he's going to miss maybe a game or 2.
Okay, let's run down a couple more positions here before we get into our lineups. At shooting guard, Butler is questionable tonight, but I wouldn't be playing him. Dwayne Wade has been off the charts, phenomenal. DeMar DeRozan might be a nice play tonight without Lowry in the lineup.
Louis, I'll talk about him in a bit. Lou Williams. He produces with no Lowry.
Absolutely, another nice play. Other than that, there's no real shooting guards that stand out to me. Monte Ellis is kind of hit or miss, but he's going to be the focal point of the offense tonight. Stuckey is a decent play as well.
Anthony Morrow, 20 points last game, especially with no Cantor. He might be the second option. It's a little bit of a tough matchup against Atlanta, but Morrow for 3-pointers and scoring, it's not bad.
LeBron James tonight at small forward. You can't go wrong with him. He's going to go off. I don't like Gallinari. He hasn't been as good as of late. He's really not that good. It's just he gets the playing time there in Denver. Kawhi Leonard
it's tough
is
the Nuggets there,
play.
rotating the lineups pretty frequently. Will Barton every now and then is having a big night. Yeah, hard to count on.
At small forward, it's tough to see if it's going to be Michael Kidd-Gilchrist or Gerald Henderson, but they have a really good matchup against the Kings. They're allowing a lot of points to small forwards. Moving over to power forwards, we talked about Anthony Davis. Most likely not going to play tonight, but he could suit up. This is a big game. Obviously, if he could, he would. It's tough, right? He always seems to be hurt. Yeah, that's a knock on him early in his career. He can't
take him number 1. Gotta go Curry.
Gotta go Steph. Blake Griffin back into the form of things, playing his 3rd game now since returning from injury, or his 4th rather, and
he's been great.
He's got three double doubles in those 3 games. Kevin Love, you can just stay clear of him, right?
Yeah.
How Kevin Love's soon going to be like $5,000.
I know, you got to. Or that's the only way you'll play him. It's too expensive.
I talked about Noel. He's a game time. Bargnani's a pretty nice option at $5,900 tonight. Brandon Bass has been solid, but he's got a tough matchup against the Spurs. And it's always tough to know which Celtic is going to come out on top.
Yeah. Jason Thompson for the Kings. DeMarcus Cousins might be questionable again. 12-8 last game for Thompson. He had that big 2020 game a month ago without Cousins, but 12, not bad if he could get some minutes.
Absolutely. Okay, and at center, the last position of the night, we talked about Steven Adams. Again, we're going to get into him a little bit more. He's in my lineup.
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan, not a bad play. Always a decent play, with the boards and the blocks. Hassan Whiteside, again, he could eat up the Denver Nuggets. And that's about it. Those are the guys that really stand out to me at center. I mean, Zaza Pachulia has been a lot better. I would suggest picking him up if you can in your Yahoo ESPN leagues. He's widely available, and he's back to playing how he was before the injury.
It's getting nice source of rebounds, which it's hard to find. Hard to find steady rebounds on the waiver wire.
He's got
in 12-team leagues.
3 double-doubles in his last 5 games and double-digit points in 5 straight and 6 of 7. So not a bad option. Fairly available in leagues. Yahoo's hovering right around the 20% mark. And we should talk about Omar Sheik, I guess, if
he left the game too. So
I know.
Something you have to pay attention to.
Maybe could be Alexis Agensa.
If it's Noah Sheik and Anthony Davis, Alexis Agensa is a great play.
Yeah, he is. I mean, 10 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, and a block last night. 24 FanDuel points. So you just got to keep an eye. FantasySportsNetwork.com. Keep an eye on the wire. Follow us on Twitter.
Give you the updates.
Because close to tip-off, all these injuries do happen. So we get back here. Touch 'em all brought to you by FanDuel and Fantasy Sports Network. We'll tee up my lineup, and we'll talk a little DFS basketball. I'll tee up Mike's lineup here, so keep her locked. This is Touch 'em All, brought to you by FanDuel on the Fantasy Sports Network. Chris Meaney alongside Mike Omelan. Okay, 12 games on the hard court tonight. You got a little Kevin Durant in there now.
Yeah,
looks like he can't stand on his feet.
He's gonna have that legs break.
His foot's a little sore, so they're just propping him up there. Poor guy. Okay, so let's talk some DFS basketball for tonight. Again, 12 games. Talking FanDuel. Bring up my lineup right at the top. Gordon Dragic and Alexei Shved. You talked about Shved.
Jumping up.
At least 36, or he's averaging 36 FanDuel points over his last 6 games. 18 points, 6 boards, 5 assists. He even has 4 blocks and a total of 4 blocks and 10 steals over his last 6. He's doing it all.
Touching them all, bud. And never a bad play against the 76ers.
Not a bad play against 76ers. 34 minutes. He's played at least 34 minutes in those 6 games. Hit 43 minutes in his last game. Dragic against Denver, 39. He's played at least 39 minutes in 3 straight games. Over his last 2, he's averaging 20 points, 10 boards, 4 assists.
Yeah.
He has 84 FanDuel points in his last 2 and 115 in his last 3. Plug him in.
And it's always good to play guys with a lot to play for. Miami clinging on to that playoff spot.
Yeah.
You want to take some of those guys over. Maybe it's hard to take Atlanta Hawks. It's even hard to take some Golden State Warriors.
Well, that's the thing because they have 7-10 game leads, so they're just they're just going to rest their guys. And apparently that injury to Clay is a little more serious than they thought. But we'll get into.
I read the opposite.
Really? Oh, well. Let's
see.
Get into that in a little bit. Dwayne Wade, shooting guard. I've been rocking him all week. I have played him Monday, played him Wednesday, got to play him Friday. Averaging 41 FanDuel points over his last 8 games, at least 33 in 9 straights. He's averaging 29 points per game in his last 7. Back-to-back 38-point games. He's the focal point of that offense. He's jacking up 18, 19 shots a game.
He spurned me last game against Portland. Hits the tie game with 10 seconds left. It's a beautiful fade. Closes it out. He's pissed off. Could have been 20. I could have been 29 and 19.
Yeah.
Could have added 10 digits on my record.
32 points in his last game. 32 points in his second last game. He's been the man. He's averaging 3 boards and 4 assists as well, and a steal over that span too.
Yeah, he's been great.
Eric Gordon is just a guy that I think you can plug in there, especially if Anthony Davis doesn't play. He's got at least 24 points in 6 straight, 15 assists in his last 3 games as well. not bad. Iguodala I want to get to really because
Yeah.
because we wanted to we were like wait it out, see what happens here with the injury to Klay Thompson. And what I noticed from that game is, Iguodala played 29 minutes and 2 seconds, third on the team behind Draymond Green, who played 22 seconds more, and Steph Curry, who only played 39 seconds more. So he got the playing time.
Yeah.
He got the shot attempts. He finished 9 for 12. I mean, Curry shot 11 times. Barnes shot 13 times, 11 from 13 from the floor. Phenomenal. So I think Iguodala is a guy you want to grab.
I picked him up right away, midway through that game. Because, mentioned before, he's a guy that we kind of talked about. This guy's so aggressive, so athletic. You just weren't seeing the stats from him this year. He's just focusing on defense. And all of his focus is on defense. And that's good for fantasy as well because he's getting a lot of steals, he's getting rebounds, he's fills out the stat sheet. But now maybe they need him to score a little bit more without Klay. It's I think a must play because he's gonna and like you see 6 assists, 2 steals. That's great for FanDuel, great points. Pick him up. Tertiary stats, he's going to fill it out. So for 12, even 10-team leagues, I think he's a great option.
Yeah, well, he's only $5,200 too, so you got to ride him out in FanDuel for sure. This is a guy, I mean, in his Philly days, he averaged 18 points, 19.9 to give him 20 there, 18.8 and 17 from 2006 to 2009. So 4 straight years of averaging at least 17 points per game, and that's when he was getting big time minutes. His minutes they've dropped, since coming to Golden State. 27 minutes per game this season. That's a career low, down from 5 last season and 7 and 8 from his
He
Denver
can score.
Philly days.
They just don't need him to. They got a lot of options.
Yeah, it's just a great fit for him to come off the bench. It's perfect. But now they're going to need him down the stretch, I think, and I think he's going to get more playing time. Yeah. He's definitely well rested. Again, I talked about Henderson moving on. Small forward. It's just he's basically. I had my lineup. I had so much money left. He's the only guy I can plug in that I liked. At least 16 points in 3 of his last 4 games. 24 FanDuel points in his last one. Again, Sacramento allowing the most small forwards over the past 10 games. So that's why I got him in there. Millsap, 113 FanDuel points over his past 3 games. And, again, this is matchup dependent. OKC, they allow the most to power forwards over the past 10 games as well. And, we talk about Cantor, Ibaka. I like Adams, but, Millsap's going to have his way.
Yeah.
Zach Randolph, as we move to the power forward here with Millsap and Randolph. I looked at the 3 games Randolph has had against Dallas. Pretty good. He's basically owned them. So I think we can count on a double-double. 3 games against them, he's averaging 19 points and 12 boards. He's had 3 double-doubles in all 3 of those games. He had a 10 and 15 game. He had 15 shots in his last game. He had 13 shots in the second game before the one just before that, and there was like a 5-day span in January where they played Memphis played Dallas twice. So I just expect him to have another double-double. He eats up the Mavs. The Mavs averaging or allowing the second most FanDuel points to power forwards over the past 5 games and the second most over the past 10 games.
He's a big bad bear.
He is. And finally, Steven Adams. 14 and 10. That's what he's averaging over his last 3 games. 9 blocks over his last 6. 6 assists over his last 6. Nothing spectacular, but if Cantor can't go tonight, expect a lot of minutes. 33 minutes and 38 minutes his last 2 games. And the Hawks, they're allowing the most points to center. So those last 3 games, it's good matchups. I don't love Adams, but Adams is a guy you need to pick up. You love it.
I love it. With no Cantor, he's going to be a beast. He's going to get 15 rebounds tonight if there's no Cantor. Even if Cantor plays the limited role, he's going to put up a double-double, probably 15 boards. This guy was a monster when people don't play.
You got to go pick him up, though. You have to pick him up, right? In leagues, go grab him because he's going to get a lot of playing time. He has shown before in the past when he gets the playing time, he can put up the numbers. Okay, we come back here. We only have a few minutes. We'll tee up Mike's lineup here. So stay tuned on Fantasy Sports Network. This is Touch 'em All, brought to you by FanDuel on the Fantasy Sports Network. Chris Meaney alongside Mike Omelan. Not much time. I hogged it all. So
thanks a lot.
Hurry up and tell everyone who you're playing tonight in your lineup.
It's funny because I went through my lineup and I always like to just kind of find some cheap options. So I filled out my lineup, a lot of cheap options. A lot of them I like. And then I had Marcus Smart as my point guard.
Woo.
I
That's a
finished.
pretty good game last time.
Yeah, 25 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. This is the smart era. It's a smart thing to pick this guy up. But then I had 5,000 left over. I'm like, oh, I could afford Russell Westbrook. So Russell Westbrook.
Funny how that worked out.
Russell Westbrook's a little better player than Marcus Smart. He's a G. No, there's no tough matchup for Westbrook. He'll get it done. Over 54 FanDuel points in 4 straight. Plug him in if you can.
Yeah.
Tony Parker, Mr. Park. With San Antonio, he's pretty undervalued. I think at 60,400, and he's turning it on of late. He got chewed out the whole Spurs team after a loss to the Knicks by Greg Pop.
Yeah.
So they're gonna bring it against a team like Boston. They don't want to lose.
Yeah. Can't afford to.
Yeah. Parker's been great of late, averaging 22.4 points in his last 7 games. He's at over 36 FanDuel points in 5 of 7. So I think he's a great play. He's especially if Ginobili out too.
Yeah.
He's gonna have his way. Shooting guard Lou Williams. It's a great play if there's no Lowry. 3 games Lowry missed from the end of February to March. Lou Williams posted games of 22 points, 21 points, and 26 points, as well as 4.7 assists in those 3. So he's the guy to get if there's no Lowry. Another cheap play, Aaron Aflalo.
Yeah.
Especially, it's a nice matchup. The Magic, they allow the 3rd most shooting guard of the last 10. And Aflalo, he's hitting his 3-pointers, and he's getting 15 points in 3 of his last 4 games, over 14 in 4 straight. So he's getting about 3 threes, getting those
heating
points. Heating up. He's just getting a rhythm in Portland. Stay in the corner.
Yeah.
Shot, make the tray.
I like that.
Small forward, Paul Pierce. You know where he's from? Inglewood.
You know where he played college basketball? Kansas.
Oh, wait. I'll get that too in a sec. Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to say about Marcus Smart playing better. All these young guys.
Yeah.
He's from Oklahoma State. The March Madness tournament begins, and all these rookies, they're seeing their former classmates tear it up.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I got to tear it up right now. What have I been doing lately? I'm going to go tear it up. All their alma matters.
What a crazy day of madness yesterday.
Yeah, it was huge, yeah. So Pierce, he's an LA guy, going to get Clippers. Doc Rivers, his former coach. Sure. And over 16 points in 4 straight for Paul Pierce. Playing pretty good.
Not bad.
Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
25 points without Klay Thompson. They said Klay was light shoot around the other day. Apparently it's not. I read not too serious, but there's no point of rushing him.
No, they don't.
No point.
He should play the second last game of the season.
Really no point. Barnes averaging 5.3 rebounds, so you're getting a couple of rebounds.
I like that Barnes score. Barnes and Iguodala's guys people should keep an eye on.
Yeah. LaMarcus Aldridge, give this guy some MVP consideration. This guy's a beast. 27.3 points, 11.3 rebounds in his last 3.
Yeah. There's not much you could say about him. He's just a stud.
You know who won't get any MVP consideration anymore? Pau Gasol. Because the best player on that team is Nikola Mirotic.
Ooh,
he's the best player.
Yeah,
he's the go-to guy. He's killing it. In the last 10 games, 20.8 points, 8.2 rebounds. He's leading the team to score every other game.
Yeah, and he's
a beast.
He's coming off the bench too, and doing really, really well.
I love his swag. Great play, 7,000. This guy continues to rise up in price.
Yeah. Well, 2 weeks ago we were paying 4,000 for him.
Yeah.
He's 7 for a reason.
I'd pay 9,000 for him. He's amazing.
You don't have much time to get to your center.
Yeah. Kelly O. It's like Mikey O. These Celtics pick him up. Kelly Olynyk, he's the best. He's great for FanDuel. He could touch them all. 20 points. He finally broke up last game. 3 rebounds, did 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. He really could do it all. Just the injury, playing time, it's hard to get, but this guy gets minutes. He could produce.
Like Kelly Olynyk.
He could produce across the board. He's had some huge games to start the year. Pick this guy up. He's worth a flyer.
He definitely got hot in his last game. Yeah, Kelly Olynyk for sure, coming off a 20-point game. He was really good before he got hurt as well. All right, so all of this can be found online, fantasysportsnetwork.com. Closer to tip-off, we'll have some of the injuries, a couple more value plays there for you. So for Mike Omelan, Chris Meaney, good luck tonight on the hard court. Happy Friday night.
Woo.